And in the second episode here, they have decided to build on the original online functionality and add more characters and more classes and quest systems and a world that you can run around in and play in. And basically, they just delivered more of what I already loved about the first game. Me and my wife put hundreds and hundreds of hours into this game. And I do feel like they dropped the ball later in the year when they added some of the other microtransactions and some of the more imbalanced classes, and they had some balancing issues with stuff like rows. But overall, this was one of my favorite experiences of the year. It's a game that I'll keep coming back to even after these series over with. Me and my wife love this game, and I think we're not going to stop playing it anytime soon. At number 9, I've put Firewatch. And I know this one will be controversial because I think we beat this game in one setting on stream. It is very, very short with little to no replay value. However, it is a perfect example of what narrative can be in a game, telling the story with compelling voice acting, compelling scripting. On top of that, the world was beautiful, the story was interesting, and even though I felt that it ended a little weakly, the overall experience was absolutely fantastic. Memorable characters, memorable events, and a memorable background for this game to take place in. It's one of my best experiences of 2016. At number 8, I've decided to put Titanfall 2, and this is almost exclusively because of the fact that it redeemed the franchise in my mind. I did not get a chance to play through the campaign. Instead, I watched one of my favorite Let's Players play through the campaign, and it's fascinating. The campaign is good, and I'm really glad it's there. The multiplayer is likewise fantastic. It's much improved from the first game. This was a game that I can easily highly recommend, and I think, unfortunately, due to EA's release strategy, is one of the most overlooked games of the year. That's good for you, though, because if you decide to pick it up, you'll definitely be able to pick it up on a budget. And number 7 is Uncharted 4, and I have to say, this game has its ups and its downs for sure. This was my very first entry into the Uncharted series. I never did take the time to play 1 through 3, and I have to say, I love the characters, I love the plot, I love the story, I love the interactions, I love the Crash Bandicoot cameo. All of that was fantastic. I felt combat was fairly stilted, but that's very common for a Naughty Dog title, and even though the story surrounding the game was worth putting up with the stilted combat, I feel like the stealth options were frustrating, the combat wasn't fantastic, and that's what keeps it from being higher on the list. But of course, as usual, this story of redemption for Nathan Drake is easily worth putting it somewhere on the list. At number 6 is Battlefield 1, and if you've watched my streams on Twitch, you absolutely know why this is the case. I cannot get enough of the multiplayer for this game. It feels like a return to form. It feels like I'm playing Battlefield 1942 with very updated and awesome graphics. The combat can be hectic and very, very crazy, but it can also be very skill-based and intense, and I love the multiplayer for this game. It's amazing. Likewise, the single player is emotional and moving and makes you face the horrors of war, and it really, really sticks in your mind. It's not something that you'll forget. The only reason this game is not higher on the list is because, as per usual, EA's monetization of their games and the way that they're separating maps and they're pushing their DLC is very, very frustrating to me. Had there been a much simpler, easier way to get all of the content, this game easily could have been in the top 3. At number 5, we have Inside. And I have to say, this is a game I neglected throughout most of the year. I thought it was just another running right simulator, another Limbo clone. I did not expect it to be interesting or good. The number of what the hell moments you get out of this game, though, is well worth the price of entry. And even though it is very, very short and very, very weird, artistically it is beautiful. It sounds beautiful. It looks beautiful. Mechanically, it is beautiful. It feels like the way I remember old games like Prince of Persia, the 1990s version, or Out of This World. And it's got so many cool death sequences that I found myself killing myself just to see what the death sequences would look like. And the ending is weird. It's weird. It's just a really weird game. At number 4, I've put The Last Guardian, and this was a game I was not hyped for at all. I expected absolutely nothing for this game, and actually had no intention of taking the time to finally play it this year until I saw another YouTuber make a song about it. It's Dan Bull wrote a rap song about this game, and that got my wife interested, which then got me interested, and I'm really, really glad that happened. To me, on paper, it doesn't look like the idea of what The Last Guardian is, could, or should work. But all of that extra time in the developmental cycle to make it the game that it turned out to be is amazing. And what makes this game amazing isn't the problem solving or the map exploration or anything else. It is the incredible amount of detail paid to the main character, the detail added to the Guardian, and the way that he interacts and the way that you interact with the world and everything else. The game is breathtakingly beautiful. It feels real, it feels important, it plays well, it looks absolutely gorgeous, it sounds gorgeous. It's about as close to a piece of art as I think a game can actually be. So I think we all knew that Pokemon Sun and Moon was going to be on the list somewhere, but I didn't think you guys would expect it at number 3. The reason is simple, though. It is the ultimate Pokemon game. It definitely has better graphics than any other game, even scaled up to the point that it could appear on the Nintendo Switch or the Wii U at some point. On top of that, there's plenty to do after you beat the main story. The Pokédex is fantastic. They make very, very good use of some of your favorite Pokemons as you play through the game. The starters are unique and interesting. There's not a lot bad to say about the game. It's mostly good. Now, that's not to say that the game is perfect. It definitely has been Nintendo-fied. They grab you by the hand at the very beginning of the game, and the first several hours of the game is all tutorial style. The new Pokédex, the Rotom Pokédex, makes you very frustrated and very annoyed because it leads you by the hand throughout the entirety of the game. It isn't until the later portion of the game that it feels like a real Pokemon game. But when it does, the challenge tree, everything else like that, really gives you a lot of reason to keep playing the game, especially once the main story is over. And there's a lot of lifestyle improvements, like getting rid of some of the movement skills and giving you rideable Pokemon, stuff like that. Overall, the game is, I think, without question, the first and the best Pokemon game that anyone should play. At number 2 is Doom, and I'll tell you, I know this will come as a lot of surprise to a lot of people, because as you may know, I despised the multiplayer. I did not find it that interesting or that fun. I did not enjoy the map editor very much. Not that the map editor itself was bad, but what people were making with it did not feel like it was worth playing. What made me rate this game so highly, though, it is a return to form for a style of game that I had thought had been lost for good. This is a ultra-violent action game that is over-the-top gory. It is pulse-pounding. It is amazing. The level design is great. The hidden trinkets on each level make it worth exploring. There's a lot of replay value that'll make you go back and play the single-player match over and over again. The storyline is loose enough to structure the game. It is interesting enough to where it keeps you wanting to finish the game. This game was almost orgasmic. And there were such moments that were so violent, I actually found myself fatigued from enjoying the game too much. I could not leave this game off the list, and I gotta tell you, it came this close to being number 1. Now, I can feel the collective rage from my number 1 in the comment section already, and I haven't even finished the video yet. But at number 1, I have put Overwatch, and I want you to notice on the box art here, I have put the PC version over Overwatch. I do not include the console versions. The console version would not be my number 1 game. The PC version is. My problem with the console version of the game is fairly simple. It is a $60 title to play on the consoles that is half of a game. There is no single-player campaign, and there absolutely should have been something like that if you were going to charge the full $60 for console. Furthermore, the game did not perform as well as they had expected on console, so whenever I try to boot it up on the Xbox One, I end up playing against bots because it's hard to find other people to play. And the challenge level of playing it on console versus playing it on PC is night and day. The experience on PC is so much more interesting and so much more challenging with a much larger user base. It's hard to compare it to the console version. But the PC version of the game is a different story altogether. It's a budget title starting at $40, and it's already gone on sale a couple of times so you can pick it up even cheaper. And then once you have spent that amount of money, you are getting free updates for life. The Christmas update, the summer update, the Olympic stuff, the Halloween stuff, all of this stuff is free. New arcade modes and different brawls every week. the multiplayer, the competitive seasons, all of that stuff, and it is a robust and fantastic package for 40 bucks. You can't beat the value you get for your $40. But then when we talk about the game mechanically, it's perfect. It's exactly the game I want to play. The characters are designed well. They look good. Their costumes are beautiful. The voice acting is fantastic. Their interaction is done well. The maps are well designed. The play modes are well designed. Everything about this game is just fantastic. I played 100 hours in the beta, and I wanted to put it on my top 10 list last year, but I couldn't because I don't put beta games on the list, only finished games. This game was finished, and I expected it to be somewhere around number 10, and I just can't help myself. I can't stop playing this game. I had to put it at number 1, and if you're rolling your eyes at me right now, please understand, this game is under my skin, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon because they keep giving me free stuff. And that's it, and that's my top 10 list for 2016, and I have to say, maybe I should have done a top 15 or a top 20 because there were a lot of games that I did enjoy that were not on the list. I know that there were a lot of games that I didn't get to play that couldn't be on the list because I didn't get a chance to play them. And I know you guys very well. I know that you will drop a like on this video. I know you subscribe. I know you will subscribe if you haven't. And I know you'll let me know in the comments section below which games I forgot and which games you agree with. And I always look forward to reading that over Christmas break. Guys, as always, I want to thank you very much for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon. And man, I hope 2017 is even better for gaming. I have a feeling it will be. What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie the 988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet.
Scenarius. The light of the sun grows within the temples. Soon they shall pass inside. The attack. My magic flows through the temples. Guardians! Do not let these mortals overrule them. That's the end of your killing spree. Fort lost, heroes. Fear not, I have returned. It shall be done. Enemy fort. Your enemy has destroyed a fort. The wilds call out.
An excellent heal.
So it shall be.
I'm loving them heels.
Pathetic wretches.
Thanks. I needed that.
Devious. The light of the sun grows. Soon they shall pass into mine.
An excellent heal.
My magic flows through the temples. Guardians, do not let these mortals approach them.
An excellent heal.
Hello everyone, it is your host Seth the Programmer, and today we are going to be talking about the one, the only, the bodybuilder legendary Saiyan Brawly. Okay. Oh god. I'm actually really procrastinating making this video because I really don't want to get into Brawly because there's two sides to Brawly. There's always two sides. There's the one side that's like Brawly's power is maximum. He can beat everybody. He solos Dragon Ball. And then there's the other side that's like Brawly is fodder. He would get his ass stomped in by Busaga Goten or fucking Cell Jr. And there's just, where's the middleman? Where's the guy throwing the fucking facts down that Brawly is just a very powerful fighter, but he's also not fodder to the Cell games or anything like that? And I've been debating about this for years. When I first started, I used to think that Brawly was like half the power of Cell, right? That's what I actually thought. I thought he was half the power of Perfect Cell, and I was like, and maybe in movie 10 he gets a little bit closer, but he's still weaker. And now I've kind of gotten to the point where I have a new way of thinking about it. And when I look at it this way, everyone else just seems extremely inaccurate and wrong. Like all the videos I've seen, when you look at it this way, it just makes them all invalid. Okay, so the one thing that everybody on the fucking internet does when they're explaining Brawly is they do a certain fallacy. Every single one of them. I mean, there's a few people that don't. Very few. But I've had to really tell everyone I've discussed Brawly with for the past like 2.5 years that, hey, you're being fallacious. And that fallacy is connecting the main timeline to the Brawly timeline and then power scaling them. So one of the main things they'll try to do is they'll try to connect the main timeline canons to the, to the Brawly movie canons, and then they'll try to power scale them, which is actually a fallacy because if you look at, the Dai Zenshu movie interviews with Toriyama or whatever, he specifically states that the movies are going to take place in an entirely different dimension, and he's entirely just an audience for them. They don't correlate to each other whatsoever. Really, the only thing that is relevant is more so the designs of the characters and maybe the timeline it takes place in, but the power scaling is completely different. A good example of this is you could take the Tree of Might movie, right? In the Tree of Might movie, Goku's stated to be like a 30,000, whereas in the Saiyan saga, he was 8,000, and in the Namek saga, he's 90,000. So how the fuck could he be 30,000 if he's between those timelines? It just doesn't logically make sense. Same thing with Fusion Reborn. In Fusion Reborn, Goku screams so hard it shakes the fucking afterlife, which is like as big as a universe, whereas in the normal timeline, he can shake Earth. When you take these things into effect, they just aren't the same levels of power, and a lot of people just don't get that. They're like, well, Broly, he took hits from Mastered Super Saiyan Goku, so he should be around Cell Games level. I think Perfect Cell would probably rod him, but yeah, because he was in the Cell Games, I think he would just get destroyed. And it's like, no, no, they don't power scale the same way as the Cell Games would, because it's not the same fucking dimension, or even the same powers within such, and there's no proof of that. Literally, the only proof is that they are in the same